What is up, Terror Talk fans? I'm your host, Jeremy, and today on episode 42, we are talking all about Scarowinds. That's right, this is Carowinds' haunted event they do every year. They do it for Halloween, and we were privileged enough to visit it on opening night, the first official night of the season. We were very glad we got to make it up there for that, because we had a great time. We have been there many times in years past, and it's always a lot of fun to get to go up there and just, have a good time, do some haunted houses, ride some rides, maybe eat some food, watch some shows. There's no shortage of stuff to do at Scarowinds, and so this year was certainly no exception, especially given that the past year we did not get to attend due to the pandemic. So we were very pleased that we did get to make it back up and check it out for ourselves, especially because they had some new houses this season and a new Scarezone as well. So that was something that definitely caught our interest, and we had to, find out about it for ourselves. So this whole episode is going to be all about Scarowinds. We're going to be breaking down everything for you. We will be talking about the houses. We didn't really make an official ranking list for the houses, so we're just going to sort of talk about them and what we thought of them. So it's a little different from our Halloween episodes and our HHN episodes and that type of thing. But make no mistake, we still had a good time at the event, and we're very pleased that we got to attend. So on Friday, September 24th, Scarowinds started their Scarowinds event for the 2021 haunt season with a collection of returning Scarezone and houses, as well as some new Scarezones and houses as well. We were very pleased to get to make it up there. Unfortunately, we did not get to witness the opening ceremony, which is something we always try to do, especially at Scarowinds, just because it's always so much fun there. And they are always pretty creative with how they do it, and I'm sure this year was no exception. We did go back and watch it on YouTube, and we saw what we missed. And it was a cool premise. Basically, for those of you who have kept up with Scarowinds in years past, the Overlord has been banished again and hidden away, and now the Queen of something, I don't know, the Queen of Darkness or something like that, she is now in charge, and she is running the show this year. So you kind of get to see her come out and take charge. The whole main stage is set up in a castle sort of aesthetic, I guess you could call it. Very, very neat, different kind of theme, something we haven't seen that I know of before, but probably haven't seen in a while if we've seen it at all. So as you roam about the event, you will find several different scare zones, all ranging in levels of scariness and interactiveness and funness and creativeness. There's all sorts of cool stuff to see in each of these scare zones. So the first one that we are going to talk about is the Blood Yard. So this is located in the Thrill Zone area of the park, so that's backed by the Hurler, Fury 325, the Drop Tower, that sort of area. It's late, way too late to find yourself on the wrong side of town inside a junkyard. Lurking among the rusty metal scraps and greasy tires, you feel as if you're being watched. Hello? Is anyone there? No answer. All you hear is a dog barking in the distance. A bottomless pit grows inside your belly. You see a sign that's written in what looks like red paint. It reads, "Trespassers will be killed on sight." It's time to turn back now. You've gone far enough. As you turn around, you catch a glimpse of a shadow out of the corner of your eye. You try running, but your legs are too heavy to move, and you fall to the ground. As you stand up, you notice that you're surrounded by a very unfriendly group. But these aren't your average villains. These are vampires, and they look thirsty. Thirsty for blood. There's no sense in trying to escape. You're in the wrong place at the worst possible time. If only there were a way out of this Halloween attraction. So this is always one of my favorite scare zones to get to go to. There was a lot of really creepy looking characters roaming about in this one. They all had like the creepy eye changing contacts. And this was one that a lot of people were jumping in, and this was also one that basically made you need a hearing aid after leaving, because they had the big, not explosion, but the big banging noise, like as if somebody was hitting the side of one of the shipping containers, because this Scarezone is littered with shipping containers. But what it actually is it's like a mechanism that is on a timer, and every so often it just does a really loud bang. And they had it inside of one of the shipping containers, so every so often you hear this really, really loud ear-piercing bang. And oh, Lord, it hurt your ears like crazy when you heard it. It really, really did. But it, made for the aesthetic. It definitely helped with getting the scare out of a lot of people because everyone was jumping. This was actually a very aesthetically pleasing scare zone. There was a lot of things to look at. Lots of set design and whatnot. It's something we've seen in the past. We've seen this scare zone several times at this event, so it's nothing new. But it was still interesting, still fun. Always is a good one. Up next we have Carnival. This is located at the Crossroads section of the park. So this is over where Plants vs. Zombies is, and sort of around the corner from Copperhead Strike. Not all carnival clowns are happy and want to make you laugh. Some clowns want nothing more than to make you cry, and scream, and run for cover. Our clowns were cheerful in our former life, but something snapped. The bright face paint, big red nose, kooky wigs, and colorful clothes cleverly disguise the wicked nature of these mischief makers and their deep, dark secrets. If you get intertwined with these menacing jesters, just act like you love their corny acts and maniacal laughs. It's safest for everyone that way. Trust us that at this Halloween carnival, there's no clowning around, just pure fear. So this wasn't necessarily one of my favorite scare zones. In fact, it was pretty simplistic. I mean, it's basically what it says. It's clowns. And there wasn't a whole lot to it. There wasn't really any unique characters. Everybody was just dressed up as clowns. And I feel like that's a big change from what it's been in the past. Because in the past, there's been more of a variety of characters in this zone. But this year, all you saw were just clowns. The white face makeup, that whole thing. Nothing really eye-catching or interesting to me. There were some clowns that would scream, bloody murder in your ear, and that was all well and good. But, I mean, like I said, other than that, just wasn't a great zone. Up next, we have Dead Man's Landing, and this is located in the county fair area of the park. This is the one with all the fair rides, and it's got the Himalayas and the zipper, and then it's got the flying cobras. Take a stroll through a bustling town full of seafarers, merchants, and scrappy ruffians that rival the ports once visited by Blackbeard himself. This haunted Halloween attraction may look innocent on the surface, but inexplicable terror lies beneath, where lost treasure and the song of the siren have put even the strongest, sturdiest pirates in a watery grave. Legend has it that these lost souls are looking to add to their bloodless, cadaverous pirate crew. So this ended up actually being one of my favorite scare zones because it wasn't necessarily a scare zone. So much like the junkyard scare zone, this had the little cannon type noise, the thing that would make the really loud boom, and this was sort of hidden inside of a ship set. So it looked like a shipwrecked ship. And every so often it would go off and people thought it was a cannon fire. And so that was really the only major scare you got in the zone. Really, this was a more interactive zone. Everybody was kind of having fun. Everybody really seemed to be about their characters in this one. I had a lot of fun interactions in here. They had sirens sitting there and they were sort of like, hello, come over here, come swim with us. And then if you told them no, they're like, why not? And they yell at you. There was pirates all inside little booths selling things. I met these 2 awesome actresses. They really made it fun for me. I walked up to them. She comes up with a chicken or a goose, whatever it is. Comes up to it, holds it by a neck and says, this is Gerald. He's a goose. And I was just like, or no, this is Jerry. This is Jerry the goose. And I'm like, hi, Jerry. And I was like, he's asleep. And he's like, no, he's not. And it was just like this whole funny interaction. And we had a really funny time with it. I really enjoyed it. There was another lady who, she had a rat in a thing, and she said, "This is my cat." I'm like, "That's a rat." And like we went back and forth bantering about it for like 5 minutes. She would call other people over to help kind of settle the argument. It was a lot of fun. And this was just a more fun kind of scare zone, very picturesque, take some pictures and laugh a little bit while you're going through. It goes to show that not all Halloween things have to be downright scary, and this was, picture proof of that. And it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this one, and if I were ranking the scare zones and such, this would probably be up there at the top. Up next, we have Gravewalkers, and this is located at the Carolina Boardwalk. Some guests never want to leave Carowinds. We totally understand, but some stay for a lifetime and beyond. When nighttime falls, these gory guests, smelling of the rotting flesh they're clothed in, ramble throughout the Scream Park on a mission for nourishment. You want some advice? Try your best to give these zombies the slip, lest you become their next meal. So this is just another returning one. We've seen it a bunch of times. So it's in the Carolina Boardwalk area, and that's right where Ricochet is, and the Carolina Cyclone, and that type of thing. It's right in that area. Honestly, this has never been one of my favorite scare zones, and in fact, I think there's actually a clip that you'll hear a little bit later as we're walking through there, how I describe it. It kind of feels like you've ended up at a zombie prom or something. Like, that's what it feels like to me. It's very confusing in a way, because it's just not what you expect it to be. I expect zombies to be crawling out of the tomb and things, and it honestly just feels like a prom started, and these people just sort of lost their way to prom or something. Like, that's the only way I can explain it. So it's not one of my favorites. I had a couple interactions towards the end of the night in this one, but nothing really that memorable. Now, new for 2021, we have the Raven's Nest. So this is located in the crossroads near Afterburn. So if you're going from Boo Blasters on Boo Hill and you kind of go up that hill like you're going towards Afterburn, it's in that little nook. You stumble upon a park. It's dark as pitch, but if you look hard enough, you'll see the remains of a once beautiful garden. The nearby Victorian architecture looks charming, but, as you'll soon realize, hides the forsaken park's wretchedness. You see a raven, or as poet Edgar Allan Poe described in The Raven, a grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, and ominous bird of yore. Not just one ominous bird, but an entire conspiracy of ravens. The foul with jet black feathers and fiery eyes that burn into your core, seek to taunt you, to haunt you. Round and round they go in this scary attraction, encircling you, and screeching in high pitches that are sure to wake the dead. Do these feathered fiends wish for you to return their grisly garden? Quoth the ravens, nevermore. So this was a new one, and the premise of it I don't think was really that new, because I feel like I've seen this done before. So for them to call it new, I feel like is a little bit of a false sort of premise. Because we've seen like birds in cages and that type of thing, and that's all this was these bird-like creatures in cages. That's all you got with this. The lighting was cool. The overall ambiance, the feel of the area was kind of neat, and it definitely put you on edge. But I mean, it wasn't really that great. It wasn't anything to write home about. I certainly wouldn't boast about it being new by any means, because it just doesn't seem that original. I mean, I guess the whole Edgar Allan Poe concept is interesting, but it's just not what I expected with this zone. Then we have returning Outlaws Revenge. This is located at the Crossroads Gazebo. So this is right out in front of Boo Blasters on Boo Hill. Card games in Wild West saloons rarely ended peacefully, particularly when the players were surely scoundrels and rotten outlaws. Somebody cheated, and somebody's gonna pay. Let's just hope that body isn't yours. With double-crossers and reckless bandits sliding in around you from all sides and looking for revenge, your best bet is to vamoose as soon as possible. So this is another one that, we've seen done time and time again. I mean, it's not anything that impressive to me. It's one that has returned. I always like going in it because it is aesthetically pleasing, and usually this is the more interactive one, honestly. And this one, there wasn't as much interaction this time when I went through, but it was very aesthetically pleasing. There was a lot of like little mini set pieces and whatnot surrounding the area, and that was kind of neat to sort of create this western scene in that area. So, I mean, it was all right. Nothing really that impressive that makes me go, oh, I've got to go back. Then we have Ripper Alley. So this is located at the Nighthawk pathway. So like if you're going towards the exit of Nighthawk, and this is where this will be. And there was an interesting place for it, actually. There's an old English tale that says ghosts only appear in places that have known either great misery or great happiness. In Ripper Alley these days, it's more of the latter. In this part of London, that prosperity forgot, evil spirits of tortured souls hover above the haunted trails like the city's thick fog. Fear of demons, death, and destruction consume the minds of those still living, if you can call it that. The morphed, crazed residents seem to come after normal humans like you, so try not to get near or even look at them. If curiosity killed the cat, you'd surely find yourself at the bottom of the Thames River. So this was a fun scare zone for me. Again, it's another one that we've seen time and time again, but I think what made it feel a little bit different was it was in a different location this time. Not by a whole lot, but it was a little more, it was more of a tight kind of space because it was more of an alley almost. The pathway was a lot more narrow. You were a lot closer to the actors who were there. The sets, I always think in this scare zone are really cool because you feel like you're walking through London. And the actors in here were actually very interactive. They were all talking, but they were actually aiming to scare you more this time. And I think that they did a pretty good job of that. We had some really fun interactions in this one as well. Seemed like we were being hunted down by, I guess, Sweeney Todd possibly, or Jack the Ripper. You know, one of the two. We're looking for somebody, and it was really, really cool, though. I enjoy that one. It's always a aesthetically pleasing one because it's kind of eerie, steampunk London kind of feel, and I like that. Finally, we have The Hollow, and this is located in Carousel Park, so this is right out in front of the Vortex. When most people think of pumpkins, they recall memories of cheery, plump orange orbs placed on front porches. They think of gathering around with family and carving their pumpkin into a silly jack-o'-lantern for Halloween. That is not the case with our pumpkins at Scarowinds. Not cheery, not silly. These gory gourds are sick and tired of their fellow pumpkins being carved, gutted, and morphed into creatures that look nothing like they once did. In a wretched twist, these pumpkins seek to carve, gut, and dismember anyone or anything who approaches their Halloween pumpkin patch. These bloody, wicked squash want nothing more than to squash you into their own version of a pumpkin pie. Okay, so this one, it was alright. I feel like in years past, this scare zone has been a lot better, a lot creepier. And this year, it just missed the mark, in my opinion, in terms of creepiness. It definitely seemed like the actors in this zone were not trying nearly as much as I would have liked them to have been. They weren't, really going for many scares. In fact, I think most of them saw me coming, and they just kind of gave up and didn't even bother to try and scare me. The feel of everything just wasn't there like it normally is. It was not as dark as it normally is. There weren't like as many set pieces and whatnot, and just this scare zone just sort of missed the mark for me. I wasn't very pleased with it, and it definitely just felt like sort of a filler. It was like, what can we do to fill this void? So unfortunately, this was not a great one for us, but it is what it is. So in addition to these scare zones that we have, the rides at Scarowinds were also open, so we were able to ride we weren't able to ride, but 2 rides. But you had the opportunity to ride everything. The crowds were actually a little bit busier than I anticipated, so that's why we really didn't wait around to ride anything, because we really wanted to get the houses done. That's what we were there for. And we were able to. In fact, some of them we were able to get done multiple times, so that was a joy that we were able to do that. I think we did 3 out of 5 twice. So that was kind of neat to be able to do that. One of them I didn't really feel like we needed to go through a second time because we sort of got a unique experience by going through with a really small group. There was nobody back there, and so that made it a little better for us. And then the other one, I just didn't even bother trying to run over there because time was running out. Park was closing. So, unfortunately, we didn't get to do Depths of Darkness except for one time. So, but everything else we got to do twice. Depths of Darkness we didn't. And Lights, the Silver Scream Studio one we did not get to do twice either. But still, we had a good time. So, you had these awesome houses that you could do. You had these awesome rides you could ride. We did get to ride Fury 325. We got to ride that. And we got to ride Copperhead Strike. Those were the two musts for me. I would have liked to have tried to get a ride on the Intimidator. But I've ridden that one so many times that it's not, at the top of my list. But I did want to make sure I at least got a ride in on Fury and Copperhead. Because those two are just so fun. And speaking of Copperhead, there's like an unspoken sort of scare zone right out in front of it. So in that whole little western kind of area is basically a chainsaw wonderland. There's all sorts of actors running around with chainsaws scaring people. And I had so much fun just walking through there and watching them chase people down with them. And some people would run like crazy. Some people wouldn't move a muscle. Some people, were all for it and cheering them on. It was great. But that was a little extra thing that's not really mentioned so much. But it was really cool and really fun to get to experience that. And see all just the people, how they would react to the chainsaw crew, as I call them. So that was a lot of fun. We also got to check out the shows, or at least we got to check them out sort of like in passing. We didn't get to check out the Queen's Ball, unfortunately. That was one we didn't see. We did see Heartbeats in passing as we walked by, and that was kind of a neat little thing. Like I said, it's sort of like Stomp, but Halloween version in a way. And then the Ghouling Pianos, we got to check them out, and they did a good job with that. It was not on a stage like I thought it was. It was actually on a little tiny stage outside in like this sort of makeshift kind of amphitheater, and I feel kind of bad that it was that setup. I didn't like that too much. I feel like it would have been a lot better inside of the big Harmony Hall, because that's where I assumed it would be, and unfortunately it wasn't, so not so good on you Scarowinds for that, but it is what it is. Alright, we're going to take a short little break, and then when we come back, we're going to talk about the houses for Scarowinds 2021. Don't go anywhere. Hey there, Terror Talk fans. Are you looking for a new way to let your voice be heard? If so, check out our friends at Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for creating your very own podcast. They offer editing tools to create your podcast, which include your audio, listener audio, unique transitions, and custom advertisements. In addition, they'll also help you distribute your podcast to other listener sources, such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many others. With this unique app, you also have the chance to get paid for your podcast by simply placing ads for various sponsors in your videos. Best part of it all? It is 100% free. Anchor does all the work for you and makes podcasting as simple as turning on a light. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. That's ANCHOR.FM. Whether you're new to podcasting, doing it as a hobby, or hosting a professional show, Anchor is the place for you. And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, on episode 42 of the Terror Talks. Before the break, we were talking about Scarowinds and their 2021 season. We talked about the several scare zones that you will encounter at this event, as well as the different offerings such as the rides and shows. Now we're going to talk about the 5 houses, 2 all new ones, and 3 returning from years past. Before we talk about them, we're going to let you hear our initial thoughts from the event itself. So, Roll the clip. Hey guys, so it's Jeremy from the Terror Talks. We just came out of Slaughterhouse, the Final Cut. That was our first house for the Scarowinds 2021 season. And yeah, it was a good haunted house. It was pretty good. Pretty much the same as what it's been in years past. Nothing too terribly different. I think the best part of this experience was the fact that I got to go through with a very small group. There was only 3 of us in the group together. So that made it a little more enjoyable for me because we got all the scares together. And I actually got some scares this go around. So that was kind of neat. You can probably hear the roller coaster running behind my head because we are at a theme park, so there are roller coasters. So now we are going into another scare zone. My only grievance is there are no signs for what these scare zones are. So this is like the Gravewalkers scare zone. So there's a lot of graves. Oh, hi. Lots of zombie, ghoulish looking people in here. Looks like a zombie prom gone wrong. But the lighting in here is really good. They did a really good job with the lighting and the effects and all that. Like, it actually looks really, really nice in here. I bet when it turns dark, it's going to be absolutely stunning. And I can't wait to see what we're going to get when it gets a little darker out. Lots of actors in here. Not really saying much, though. They just kind of walked up to me and didn't really do much. Oh, okay, there you go. I got a scare in a scare zone. Nice. So there you go. That was the Gravewalker scare zone. I should have taken some pictures, but we're trying to save this phone battery. So we're not trying to do too much on the phone if we can help it. Because I didn't bring my video camera with me. I was going to, and then I changed my mind at the last minute. And I was like, nah, we don't need the video camera. So, no video camera. So we're at the mercy of whenever the phone dies, basically. So yeah. But going into another scare zone up here. This is the Pirate Scare Zone. So let's check it out. This is located in the Carowinds County Fair area. Oh wow. Definitely got to get some pictures of this scare zone because there are some parts of it that look really, really cool. So this is going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited. Oh, it sounds like they've got the cannon back out here like they did last year. So that's a neat little feature they had before that I really liked. Lots of fog. They're really milking the fog out here. Alright, we're going to get some pictures. Alright guys, so we just got out of the Reaping and the Tooth Fairy, both new haunted houses for Scarowinds' 2021 season. They were both okay. They were nothing amazing per se. They were both very interesting. So the Tooth Fairy was definitely a lot more scenic. There wasn't a whole lot of scares in there. I didn't really get jump scared by anything that I remember, and so that was a little disappointing. But it was very scenic. It was very beautiful. There was like a lot of blood, guts, and gore on the walls in there, and like in terms of scenery, it was very well done. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't really scary. The actors were just kind of standing there for a good portion of it, so that was a little bit of a disappointing thing that we had going on there. But you know, it is what it is. Maybe we'll get a second run through and maybe it'll be a little bit better. In fairness, I was, you know, in a group, so maybe the people at the front of the group got more of a scare than I did. You know, sometimes it happens that way. So it's very possible it could have been that way. But so that was the Tooth Fairy, and then the Reaping, that was another really, there wasn't a whole lot of scares in there, but what scares were in there were a lot of ghillie suit scares, which I've never realized how effective those are, because I was shitting my pants the whole time. Like literally, there were several
ghillie suit scares that scared the living crap out of me. And I was really shocked that they got me as well as they did, but that's the way it goes. I mean, they did a good job with that. I love the use of the space. They did it in the old river raft queue, so that was kind of a neat use of that whole area. And like they really like fleshed it out a lot. Like it was definitely better than how Six Flags has done it in the past, where they've just used strictly the queue. This one actually used a little bit more of the queue, or maybe the queue is just naturally longer, but it definitely was really an intricate way of using the space. So that was kind of cool. I'm definitely down with that. I enjoyed that. Oh, dueling pianos.
In making our park a fun and safe place for all.
Hey guys, we just came out of Depths of Fear. That was probably like our third or fourth time going through it since it's been here at the park. And it's pretty much the same as it has been in years past. Not a whole lot to it. Yeah. I mean, I guess I didn't really expect too much out of it, other than the exact same, song and dance we've gotten every other year. But, I guess a part of me wanted them to go a little bit further, but it is what it is. We roll with it, and that's what we got. But still, a very cool house. We're going to talk more about it on the show, but those are just our initial thoughts. There weren't a whole lot of scares. There were a couple in there that got me. But other than that, that was pretty much it. So, all right, guys. Well, we'll talk to y'all a little bit later.
So we're going to talk about these haunts in the order that we experienced them. So first up we have Slaughterhouse, the Final Cut. This is located back in the Carolina Boardwalk area behind Carolina Cyclone. We just don't understand the vegetation craze. People say it's healthy, but backyard burgers are so tasty. Hot dogs on the grill are heavenly. Everyone knows life isn't complete without bacon. What makes some meat so tasty? Is it the seasoning? The prime cuts? Come to our slaughterhouse to get a hog's eye view of where your delicious protein comes from. We offer delicious fresh samples, free. Don't mind the bloody walls, bloody butchers, bloody knives, bloody everything. Step around the carcasses and maimed creatures. Try to ignore the grinding sounds and blood-curdling screams. It's all part of how the magic happens in commercial meat production. On the tour, you'll discover what we add that makes our meat the most flavorful around. Or, more accurately, who we add. Mind your manners on our haunted house tour, or you'll be our next added ingredient. So this is a returning house from years past. This is one we've experienced every year that we've been at the event. I think that this one is sort of just a permanent one that will never go away. I'm thoroughly convinced of that at this point. But this is always a fun one. This is definitely your major gore one. Lots of creepy, bloody meat hanging everywhere. Definitely see a lot of blood and guts going through here. But it's a fun one. I enjoy it. There's a lot of technical type things going on in here that you may not see in the other houses. Just because this one is permanent, I think it allows for them to do a little bit more. And that's a great thing. And so this is always one of the fun ones that we get to go through. And I'm glad we ended up knocking this one out first, because usually the line is absolutely slam-packed full of people for this one. But luckily, when we got back there to it, there was nobody. In fact, we got to go through for the most part by ourselves, and so that was pretty fun. You didn't really get a whole lot of scares, which that can be said for all the houses, really. We didn't really get a whole lot of scares, but it was still a neat house. It's still a fun house to get to go through, and it's always really cool, and we always have a good time with that one. Up next, we have new for 2021, Tooth Fairy. This is located on the Nighthawk Pathway, so this is, if you go through Ripper Alley and go straight back, you will come to this one, or if you're over by the Sky Screamer, I think it's called, it's right down the path from that. Do you believe in the Tooth Fairy? You better, or you might be the next donor to her vast collection of human teeth and various other body parts. Our Tooth Fairy seeks out parents who don't believe in her. Is this you? Poor fool. Prepare to be snatched from your warm, cozy bed and dragged to her underworld clinic. Trapped within blood-stained walls, all you can hear are whirring drills and ear-piercing screams. The Tooth Fairy's dental assistants, gassers, extractors, grinders, and taxidermists grab their crusty, rusty tools and come at you, hungry to begin your treatment. Will you find your way out of this scare maze, or will you suffer the fate of non-believers who came before you? If only you had believed in the Tooth Fairy. So this is a brand new one. It's located in what used to be the hospital haunted house. So it's sort of already set up in a way for like a medical type thing. But what's interesting is like the whole layout of it is different than what I remember. And so I thought that was really good on Carowinds for being able to make it so different. And like the set work in here was really, really nice. Like, you saw some really neat things. There was a moment where you actually sort of went inside, like, the mouth of a person, is I think what it was meant to sort of represent, because there was teeth, and it was pink, like it was the gums or whatever. And it was really, really kind of cool. And this was also a pretty gory house as well. And I think Scarowinds did a really good job. Again, there wasn't many scares in there, but it was very cool to see how they were able to take this haunted house from years past and make it different and do something different than what we've seen 1,000 times before. Like, I feel like they really did that beautifully, and it created a unique experience. So if I was rating them, this would definitely be up there towards the top, because this was one of my favorite ones that I got to experience, and luckily this was actually one that I got to experience twice, so I'm very pleased that I got to do that. Up next, we have The Reaping. This is also new for 2021. This is located in Celebration Plaza. So, like, as soon as you come in the park and you go off to the right, like you're going back towards Fury, it's where the old river raft ride used to be. It's literally in the queue for that and part of the station. In a normal world, scarecrows protect treasured corn crops from murders of crows. If you didn't know, a group of crows is called a murder. But in our world, scarecrows prefer to preside over a different kind of murder. In this corn maze, no one is safe when scarecrows and looming towers of corn close in all around you. No one gives you a kernel of truth as to how to escape. Ears are everywhere, but all are deaf to your screams for help. As you race through this haunted maze straight from the underworld, you never know what you will encounter. Will you find husks of corn, or the husks of adventurers who came before you? What's around the next corner in a place where you're continuously stalked? You'll be amazed just to get out of this tangle of death. So this was not one of my favorite haunted houses, honestly, because it was just as I feared. It was the type of haunted house that they did in the queue line of an old ride, and basically one side was one half of the haunt and the other side was the other half, and it was just, it's not a creative use of the space in any way. And honestly, all you saw in this one was corn. That was it. There was a couple moments where you saw some scarecrows, but other than that, this was not a very innovative house and not a great use of the space. I mean, I will say this one, out of all of them, got the most scares from me, but other than that, there was nothing really redeeming about this house. It wasn't a great house. It wasn't very innovative, and honestly, I think I would have much rather have the house that used to be back towards the back of the park that they actually built a whole set for than having this one again. Unfortunately, this was just not a good house, and it's definitely not something I would boast about having for the 2021 season. Up next, we have Depths of Darkness. This is located in Celebration Plaza near Harmony Hall. So if you go through Snoopy's Kids Zone and keep going straight back, you will find this one. For your sake, we hope you're not afraid of the dark. We hope you have a good sense of direction. We also hope that you don't mind that there's a serial killer on the loose, here, inside Scarowinds. Quick, duck into our room for cover. It's closed and confined. Hopefully safe, but you get a vibe that something's just not right. The area is nothing but pitch-black darkness, so you're both sightless and powerless. The air feels thick. As time passes and you feel your way around, your sixth sense kicks in, and you just know that someone or something is in the room with you. Who is it? What is it? Why does it feel like the walls are closing in? Where's the door to this place? How can I get out of here? Enter this haunted maze if you're brave enough, daring enough, and maybe reckless enough. So again, this is another returning haunt from years past. It's literally exactly the same as what it's been every other year. Nothing changed at all. This has always been one of my favorites just because I did think it was kind of cool. I feel like it's got some really neat set stuff in there and a cool sort of premise, like you actually walk by a full-scale house in this one. But other than that, I mean, it's not really that great of a house. It does do the effect that I've said on the show I love, which is the laser through the fog, which makes it look like you're going underwater. It does do that, and that's honestly the only redeeming thing about it. I mean, I do love the house for the effects and the set work, and the overall premise I think is really neat, but it's not a must-see house for me every time. You know, if I missed it, I wouldn't be missing anything because I've seen it every year for the past 3-4 years now. So I really, truthfully am ready for something a little bit different, and hopefully that will get delivered soon. Finally, we have Silver Scream Studios Condemned, located in the Thrill Zone, and this is back by Fury 325. In fact, it's sort of in the exit in a way to that attraction. You and some friends decide to check out a creepy old building you found on the internet. The rumors say that failed horror movie director Von Hellsberg tried to make a memorable film by killing the actors. It's been 20 years since this once infamous studio was filled with screams of victims. Now abandoned and crumbling, the halls still echo with screams of torment. Grab a flashlight and take this last chance to explore the madness in this Halloween maze. Be cautious as you walk through the remains of the studio's structurally unsound buildings can lead to injury or even death. So this was one house. In fact, this was the only house that we were not able to get an initial reaction from after we had gone through because our phone had died. But this was the same as it's been in years past, but this was a more unique experience for us to go through it because normally we go through with really big groups in this one, and this time we actually got to go through with just us and 2 other people, and it was very, very dark going through there, and it made it a little bit more fun for us. So we really got to enjoy it more this time. There wasn't really a whole lot of scares in there. The sets were the same as what they've been in years past. I mean, the sets are cool because you do feel like you're going through an actual soundstage of film studio, if you will. But other than that, I mean, it's nothing that we haven't seen before in years past. This is one I would say that I would do again each time I go, because I always really enjoyed this one. But, I mean, it's not the best haunt by any means, and it's certainly not new by any means because we've seen it several times. So I am curious if we're going to get something different in the future years from this one, or if they're just going to keep rehashing the same idea. And I'll also say that this is a pretty technical house too. There's all the houses at this event are actually pretty technical. There's a lot of technical sort of scares in here and special effects that happen, like moving mechanisms and that sort of thing. So that's kind of cool. But those are the 5 houses for the Scarowinds event. We had a really good time getting to attend. You know, it's always fun to attend these haunt events, and we've always enjoyed going there every year, and we usually make it up there each year for it. So if you do want to go up there and check it out before the haunt season's over, you've got until October 31st, so not a lot of time left. But be sure to get up there and check it out now. You can buy your tickets online, and in fact, it's encouraged to do that. They're trying to do as many measures to protect people from COVID and all that, so they are taking safety precautions in that regard. But what I will say is, while I was there, they said they were enforcing masks inside all the haunted houses. That was not the case. In fact, only one did I ever get told I had to wear a mask. So it just, I do feel like they were not enforcing that as much as they said they were. And I'm not saying if I'm for or against that by any means. I'm just strictly informing people on that one. So be advised that on the website and such, it does say that masks are required in the houses, but they're not being as strict as one might think. But that is going to do it for us today here on episode 42 of the Terror Talks. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to hit that like, comment, and subscribe button below. If you want to contact us directly, you can send us an email to theterrortalks@gmail.com, or you can contact us on any one of our social medias. Go check out our website. It's linked in the description below, and there you can read all of our written haunt reviews, and then be sure to listen to all of our haunt reviews on our listening platforms. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and a collection of other listening platforms. We're also on YouTube, so you can watch the videos on YouTube as well. If you want to give us a little bit of extra love, you can go check out our Patreon and subscribe. Your donations and your subscriptions allow us to put out more content, more quality content, and allow us to better the content we already have. So any way that you can contribute, whether it be by subscribing to the Patreon with one of the 3 packages, or if you want to hit that donation button, we do have a link to donations that you can go and donate some money to the channel and the show, and that would help us, and we are extraordinarily grateful for that. So if you are feeling generous, whether it be a penny, $1, $10, whatever you feel so moved to give, it is not gone unnoticed, and it is much appreciated. Finally, we want to thank you guys so much for joining us each and every episode here on the Terror Talks. We could not do it without you. So that being said, thank you so much for tuning in to episode 42, where we talked about Scarowinds and their 2021 haunt season. Be sure to go check it out before the season's over. You've only got till Halloween to do it, so get out there and check it out while you still can. But until next time, be safe out there. Don't text and drive, and be excellent to each other. We'll see you in the fog.